Hey, what's going on, Wealthy Legacy Journeyers? Welcome back to the Wealthy Legacy Journey. I'm your host, Kendell, and the title of today's episode is Imposter Syndrome and Investing Moves Amid U.S. and China Trade Deal. Partly what we're talking about is kind of just this interesting feeling on a personal note that I got last week. And I think a lot of the real estate agents that are here in the office with AmbitionX Real Estate, and maybe some of you guys feel some of this. And so I wanted to tap into it and just, genuinely, express what it is that I kind of had around certain posts that I made, pushing the Wealthy Legacy journey out there, how that made me feel, and just kind of kind of mentally battling like I have to be confident in what I am building here. And then also we're going to talk about some investing stuff amid what we've kind of seen in the market and the decisions that it's pushing me to make as an investor. So kicking it off, from a personal perspective, I was hit with a lot of imposter syndrome last week. So if you watched last week's episode, you know that's episode 90. So we have 10 episodes left to episode 100. The big goal on that is to have $100,000 of liquid net worth for investing purposes by that point, or at least $100,000 owned solely 100% by our entities and ventures. So it's not like JV cash or anything like that. As far as, net worth from an assets perspective, either invested or held in cash. But last week when I published the episode, I blasted it out there on social media. I was like, wow, I'm so excited, guys. Like I calculated, we had a little over $200,000 net worth. Push it out there, and immediately I just wanted to draw back into myself, and I felt this huge imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to post about this? Who am I to pretend I'm such a big deal? Who am I to really think that that's really any sort of accomplishment? And boom, I just started getting attacked like crazy. But it's interesting because we tell the real estate agents often here at AmbitionX Real Estate, you've got to be posting, you've got to be publishing your brand, you've got to be pushing content out there, telling people who it is that you are, what it is that you're doing, what are your goals, where are you going, telling your story, telling what it is that you know, that you've learned, what you can do, how you can serve them. And that's the whole point of the Wealthy Legacy journey for me as we build out these different companies. So then I, go back to this place, and I have to remind myself that as long as I tell the truth and I'm honest about what's working, what's not working, what's really true, what really has happened, what do I actually own, and I don't start fabricating things and expanding the truth and stretching the truth, then I'm okay. And I have to be confident with not where have I gotten myself, but where has the Lord gotten me. And so I can tell that story and I can be confident in it because that is my story. And so coming off of last week, I just really had to come to this place of I am telling the truth, and everything that I have, everything that I mentioned last week was factual. Everything that I mentioned last week in the post was factual. And I just have to stick to the facts. I'm just telling my story. And so if you ever feel uncomfortable, taking that photo, taking that video, sharing your story, telling who it is that you are, what you've done, what you've learned, I get it. I'm right there in that boat with you. And even as I hit this place where we're pushing probably the best financial place that we've ever been, we're building a strong company. Again, I'm hit with this, but I'm not at that level, right? But I have to realize I'm at a level that so many people would love to be at. And if I'm not arrogant and boastful, but instead I'm confident about where I am at, I can be confident about what steps it's taken in order to get here, and I can share that with the world around me, I can make a powerful impact. So if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, like I have struggled with imposter syndrome, just know that I'm with you, and let's continue posting content together. With that said, I also want to talk about real estate. So we haven't had any big exciting news on Hudson yet, but we are pushing that and looking for a strong sale on that here soon. We've got a huge marketing build out beginning this week, actually, that is going to go on for the next 2 to 3 weeks as that get launched. We've hired a professional to help us build out our social media ad campaigns for AmbitionX Real Estate. And it's really going to be a leads funnel specifically around buyer leads. And it's going to be able to just help us to expand as a brokerage. And then once we launch that, we're also going to be launching different content around listings that we're pushing out there. Then we're going to do listing ads. And then we're going to do just further on from there, retargeting and leads ads. So I'm very excited about what the coming weeks have to offer. I'm also very excited that we're hiring a professional to get that first initial set of ads built. Why? It was funny. I was just having a conversation with someone today, and they were talking about how men never read instructions. And it was just a really interesting conversation. I said, actually, I always read instructions whenever I'm assembling an item. And as funny as we're going in the conversation, I was like, to me, it doesn't make any sense not to read the instructions because if I bought that product, I want to get that product assembled and ready to use as absolutely fast as possible. And I want it to work as best as it possibly can. So then in my mind, I go, why would I go around the instruction manual trying to build it myself or make it some kind of custom thing whenever I know that following these steps, A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those are what equate to the greatest level of success as fast as possible. It's interesting. I even think back to Gary Keller's book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and a principle that he talked about in that book about how we need to build, what did he call it? Like structured models, like basically proven models. We're going to put creativity on top of proven models rather than trying to stack proven models on top of our creativity. So yes, there is room, especially inside of business and what we build to add in creativity, but I'm really excited to be bringing in this professional. His name's William Hegman. He's going to be of the social agent. He's going to be building out a lot of those initial ads for us. And to me, that's the proven model. That's the base that we're building on. And then from there, we can put creativity on top of that proven model. But we can very quickly get a strong base model built, and then we can grow from there. So, and whatever it is that you're building, whatever stage of your business, real estate, investing, whatever that you're in, I think that's a great principle for all of us. First, find the proven model. Secondly, figure out what's the fastest way to replicate that proven model, and then we can stack creativity on top of that. So with that, in this case, it was, hey, we can pay this guy $2,500 to come in to build this. It does the ads, it does the retargeting. He's going to help us with the back end and the follow-up. It was like half off of his program. And I think it was honestly a really fantastic deal. He's got lots of great reviews. So I will definitely let you guys know how it goes with William Hagman. I've even thought, man, I would love to expand the show to having other speakers. So maybe even having him on the show would be kind of neat. But just talking about what worked, what didn't work, but mainly having that expert that can come into our business and invest his time and energy and effort. He already has mastered this skill set, so he can do it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, even 5 times faster than I can, and with such great accuracy because he understands the model. He understands the game. He understands exactly what it is that he's building. Then we have the proven model implemented in our business, and we can then expand from there with levels of creativity. Now, once we're past this big marketing push, we're going to have another recruiting wave. So our goal is to begin a recruiting wave the week of May 26th, if I remember correctly. And then we will be doing a lot of like PSL webinar. Very excited to be building that out here very soon. And then we're going to be doing just a big recruiting push to get another, I think we're like 6 to 10 agents in the door is what we're looking at, which will put us somewhere around, I believe, like 20 to 25, 21, 25, something agents like in that ballpark. The goal is to be at least 20 agents by the end of June. I would like to be a couple more than 20. So that way, if any of those agents that we think are surefire are going to come through fall short, we definitely will hit our goal. So in my mind, it's like, okay, if we have enough agents committed, that gets us to 25, but then 2, 3 of those agents fall through, we still hit, 20, 21, 22 agents, and we have a little bit of a buffer zone there. Jumping to an investing perspective, let's talk about what just happened between the US and China. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I am any sort of expert on trade deals or trade agreements, but from what I've been following and understanding, basically, if countries cannot come to an agreement, that is bad. If countries can come to an agreement, short term at least, that is good. So the fact that China and US were willing to come to the table, flatten out tariffs for the time being for 90 days while they come to an agreement is positive. Now, obviously, we have to see what comes out of the next 90 days. So I'm not necessarily in a huge hurry to get back into the market, especially as Libby and I have really been looking at that cash that we have going, okay, as you guys know, we've been thinking about this rental house. We've been trying to figure out a living situation. we're currently in this place where like, okay, we're going to be in the trailer. We made really good money buying the dip on this last move. It went flying up, right? We did pretty well on that trade, so I'm very happy with that. We have some covered calls out over the top. We had covered calls on SPLG at 66, 68. We're definitely probably going to get called out in those 66s, but I'm okay with that. I sold calls at a place that I was actually okay with selling. 68s, I was really surprised to see those possibly getting called out here. The trade price is currently like 88.50. It was because of that huge positive trade announcement off of the tail ends of the U.S. China trade deal. So the price jumped over the weekend. That was a surprise to me. But I actually am still okay with selling at 68, being in more of a cash position and see what's going to happen next, especially as we let the next 90 days play out. Will they be able to come to an agreement? Will they not be able to come to an agreement? Will there be some sort of middle ground? I think there's still just so many unknowns. I'm not necessarily looking to put a whole bunch more cash in up here. Now, one of the things that I did tell you guys about my strategy was when the price broke through the 200 period simple moving average, I was going to buy more. Now, unfortunately, for my positions, I had position orders set for the down low if we had this pullback, but I never set my position correctly for if it broke through that 200 period moving average. So in the market, when I woke up this morning at like 7 o'clock and I checked the market and it was like already at like, it was like 67.50 on SPLG is where that 200 period simple moving average was, and the price was already at like 68.15 or something like that. I was like, dang it, I missed the trade. I do have an order in place for if it pulls back into that zone for retest, I am going to buy at least one lot. But if I get called out in the 68s and I get called out in the 66, that leaves me only holding one lot. Now, both of those are sold profitably, which is awesome. I am going to be holding one lot still. If I could pick up another one at 67.50, that's a discount. And then the question is just how positioned up, how full of position do we want to take with where the market is currently at? Plus, in consideration with that, how fast will we need to tap into that cash? If I wasn't going to have to touch that cash for the next 5 years, absolutely for sure, it would be one thing. But then as we keep coming back to this conversation of, okay, if something happens to a trailer, moving into a rental house, this, that, and the other, I would like that cash to be more liquid, more available. So essentially, we've already hit for the year about just with that buying that dip about 10% or so, 5 to 10%, somewhere in that range. I'd have to do the math of our total account value. And so if we put it into like a 4 point something percent high yield, like a 4.2, then honestly at that point it's like, okay, well, we're definitely hitting 10, 12% for the year because we already got this dip. 12% for the year I think is actually pretty great. And then we can just settle out. Let's see what the brokerage does. Make the return slowly, securely over time. I'll probably still hold BITO because I love the cash flow from that. It's very exciting. But yeah, so we're trying to figure out what's the next big step. So like I said, thinking about buying a dip if it comes back to that 200 period, simple moving average. But also Libby and I have a big conversation around when do we think we're going to have to tap into this cash? And the question really is, should we at this point maintain cash, load into the market, wait and buy more land, do a tax sale once my time frees up, wait and buy a full another flip and do like a full fix and flip? Like what is it that we want to do? And I think we're just at this moment right now, especially with the marketing push, with the brokerage, and then looking at we've got the recruiting push shortly after that with the brokerage. Then I would like to do some wealthy legacy journey marketing stuff. With all those three together, it's like, okay, we kind of want to pause, and I don't want to be pushing forward on too many fronts at one time. And so it's just a balance. Like, what's going to be the balance? What's the best way to approach this? And how do I make sure that I have plenty of bandwidth for what it is that I need to do that's actually producing income right now? And what's the biggest opportunity that I'm working on? The biggest opportunity I'm working on is AmbitionX Real Estate. So I need to keep that at the forefront, and then everything else comes second. And I need to make sure that I maintain plenty of bandwidth in order to grow AmbitionX Real Estate. And then from there, what else can I grow that's going to help push towards AmbitionX Real Estate? Now, me doing real estate investments and then advertising those and pushing that back to AmbitionX Real Estate, that might be a strategy, right? from a perspective of marketing the wealthy legacy journey, building out that personal brand where I point back towards AmbitionX Real Estate, that might help build the name and notoriety and just knowing of AmbitionX Real Estate. So those benefit AmbitionX Real Estate. So those are just kind of some of the things that I'm weighing out. And then with the show, today is going to be episode 91. I'm almost for sure. So that means we've got 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. Yep, I am correct. That is 9 episodes left from today. So I guess after today, we would have 8 left, I think. So 92, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, so we'd have 8 left. So after this episode goes live, we've got 8 episodes left until we hit that super exciting 100 episode mark. That's a big level. And that's when I really want to also start taking the show to the next level. So a lot of exciting things. I just to circle back and recap on everything. When you're building that personal brand, when you're building your business, don't let that imposter syndrome slow you down and stop you from moving forward. Just have confidence in what you're building. Tell the truth. Just publish the truth out there of what you're doing, how you're building, how you're growing, and just continue taking those steps forward. We've got some really cool things coming up in real estate, interesting things coming up with the market, and trying to figure out what's the best way to allocate our funds across those. Obviously, we have some really exciting things as we near that 100 episode mark with the show. And that's kind of the big notes for this episode. So I'm going to close this episode out with our identity mantra. I'll say it first. You guys say it after me, and then we'll wrap it up here. So I'll say it first. I explore the unknown. I conquer new frontiers. My journey is powerful, and my wake is a wealthy legacy. Now, it's interesting, probably from your side, to think, why am I saying this back? But I actually put a lot of thought into that identity mantra when I put it together. It's really important, really special to me, and it should be special to you, and it should call you to those bigger things in life. So, for example, when I talk about sharing my story and that imposter syndrome that I feel, the motto is my journey is powerful, right? So I explore the unknown. So from there, like when I think about that, it's like, okay, I have to recognize that I'm walking in a powerful journey, that I have the obligation to share. God has given me this story, and it's important that I share it in honor and testimony of Him. And so everything that I'm able to accomplish points back to His glory. I explore the unknown. So for me, thinking about getting to this place where we're starting to expand the brokerage to places that I've never had a business go before, expand the podcast to a place that's beyond my comfort zone. Exploring that unknown is so important. Why? Because my journey is powerful. I explore the unknown. No, explore the unknown. My journey is powerful. Oh man, I'm like all of a sudden forgetting it as I'm talking about it. I say it over and over and over. So let me just jump on my other screen here and make sure that I get this correct, if it's going to let me. Whereas my whole computer's frozen up. That is not what I wanted. So I explore the unknown. I conquer new frontiers. My journey is powerful, and my wake is a wealthy legacy. There it is. So thinking about that legacy portion, knowing that the way that I produce good fruits, I produce that legacy is by planting good seeds, cultivating good trees, and by the fruit you shall know the tree, by the tree you shall know its fruit. They are one of each other, right? So an apple tree produces apple fruits, a peach tree produces peach fruit, a lemon tree produces lemon as a fruit. And so you have to think about, well, what are the seeds that I'm planting today in my life? And if I water those seeds and I take care of those seeds and they sprout, what kind of trees will that produce? And then ultimately from there, what kind of fruit will those trees then yield in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 plus years from today, if I continue to cultivate them and nurture them and take care of them and make sure that the seeds you're planting and the trees that you're spending time taking care of, you're giving bandwidth to taking care of in your life, are actually going to be producing the fruit that you ultimately want to see over the next 10 years. Because if you are spending time pouring into and cultivating trees that are taking you away from where you want to go, that's a good time to stop, reevaluate, and then move forward on a stronger path. Or if you get to a fork in the road and you're like, I don't know which decision to make here. The great thing is then you can have, what's my big life goal? And then from there, you can say which one of these takes me most towards my big life goal and which of these two opportunities takes me away from my life goals. And then lastly, if you're ever challenged with, am I actually doing something important? And I've been challenged with this so many times. Am I doing something that's going to honor the Lord? Am I doing something important? Am I doing something that actually goes towards my life mission? Well, I think about what is it do I feel like that God has called me to in my life? And then are the steps that I'm taking today moving me towards that end goal? If the answer is yes, then I can be confident that I'm doing the wrong thing or right thing. And if the answer is no, then I know I'm doing the wrong thing and I need to pivot. So, all that to say, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode. This has been another episode of the Wealthy Legacy Journey dedicated to you and your own personal wealthy legacy journey. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye, everybody.